My name is Preston David Sherwood, or Certified Sherwood, as some people know me. I'm an artist, a business owner, and entrepreneur. I think the reason why I make music is because it allows me to tell my story and try to help those kids who have been through similar things like me that might not know what's to come next, and they can maybe look for a little guidance in it. Before I started making music, I started writing poetry when I was about 8. It was kind of like a release of my emotions because I didn't really have anyone that I could go to and talk to about those things. So I really found, I guess, myself and my inner thoughts by writing poetry and things. And then when I was probably around 13, I met my godbrother, Chris, who's another artist named Uncommon, and he kind of was like, oh, just freestyle with me, you know, whatever. And I'm like, I can't do that, bro. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then pretty soon after, a couple of times, it just turned into it, and we hook up Audacity in my room off a Dell computer from like the dinosaur ages and run the chords through to a crappy little microphone and release music, There's the personal endeavor of obviously wanting to be heard and wanting my story to be told, but then there's also the endeavor of wanting to not only build a path for other artists to be able to succeed without the needs of the standard route, which is, getting screwed over. And then there's also the needs of, I'm very religious based, and I believe I was sent here to spread a message and a word to people to bring light and kind of cast away darkness in an industry that has been there for a long time. I think there's a lot of talented artists outside of, even the popular music now, which is mostly hip hop and things like that. I think there's a lot of artists all over this country that have a voice and have a message and have a story, and just because they're not the ideal cookie cutter, prototype, they get overlooked way too often. And they tend to go for someone who, may not have the skills or talent as other people, and they tend to stick with the same routine of a cookie cutter outcome of, oh, this is what works, so let's stick with that. And that I think is what bugs me the most. I'd say music-wise, some of my biggest influences are probably, Mac Miller, Post Malone, J. Cole, Kendrick, Joey Badass. That's just hip-hop too, Blink-182, Green Day, Forever the Sickest Kids, We Came as Romans, Mumford & Sons, anything under the sun, really. Emotional-wise, I would probably give it to my big sister, Carly, just because she's very much been the mother figure after my grandma left and my mom and everything happened. She was very, just there for me. She was a rock when I needed it, and I'd say just, mentality-wise, of work ethic-wise, I'd give it to my father. He's a very hardworking man. He sacrificed everything to raise 3 kids on his own. Made sure we had clothes on our back, food in our mouths, shelter over our heads. And, it wasn't perfect, but I think that's what makes me want so much out of my life is I didn't have a perfect life. And I know one day that, if I do want to bring kids into this world or have a wife or have a family or things, I got to be able to do those things. And I think that's the biggest thing that my father and life has bestowed upon me is that, not to say you have to work 24/7, you can't have fun, but finding a way to make your dreams into passive income or into a way where you can support the people you love and take care of the ones you love is most important to me. I'd say my lowest point or rock bottom in life in general, probably when I got locked up for 1.5 years as a juvenile and had my childhood kind of put on pause. The reasons why I got put there were the main reason, or the legal reason why I got put there, I would do 1,000,000 times over. Someone attacked my family and I retaliated, but it was everything leading up to that and the way I was acting and carrying myself that when I got put in that place and I had, nothing else going on, and everyone else's life is continuing outside of there, it really put into perspective, okay, who am I, what do I want to do, and where do I want to go? And kind of, like you said, that rock bottom put that foundation down and was like, when I get out of here, this is what I want to do, and I never want to come back. And, I followed through with that. And I think with music, my rock bottom was probably when I was in a relationship with the girl who inspired my second album, Wedding Crashers. Before I'd written that album, the girl I was with, I was head over heels for, and she didn't really show any interest in my music ever or any of my passions. And I hit a roadblock and just, I felt like I couldn't write, or it wasn't that I couldn't write, but I felt like maybe this isn't for me because the girl that I'm into doesn't care about it, you know? And when all that ended, it really took a lot in me to be like, no, you know, fuck that. You know, this is what I want to do, and get back to that root of this is why I'm here and this is my purpose. And I'm not going to let anyone or anything differ me from that. My parents got divorced when I was 5. My family life wasn't really perfect. My mother was addicted on and off to alcohol and cocaine and, you know, whatever other substances she was taking at the time. Wasn't the most nurturing mother. When I was about 8 years old or something like that, she told me she wished I was never born. I lived with her, you know, not in the best of areas, and, you know, until I was about probably 13. And then I decided that I couldn't help her anymore. And it was kind of her battle to deal with. And it was between her and God. And I walked away and went to live with my dad and my grandma full time. And then, you know, when going through school and dealing with everything, you know, I went to very, very wealthy schools. I went to Birmingham, you know, Covington, you know, charter school, went to Groves, then to Royal Oak, then to Seaholm, you know, bounced around in high school. And, you know, no matter where I went, it just seemed like I didn't fit in. It seemed like kids didn't like the fact that I wasn't their walk of life. And then going through high school, my grandma passed when I was in freshman year. And after that, it was pretty much all downhill. I didn't really listen to my dad, didn't really care what anyone had to tell me. Kind of made my own decisions and was like, you know, I raised myself this long, who's gonna stop me now? And that eventually led to the, you know, not, you know, just drugs and parties and not doing good in school and, you know, getting kicked out of one and then going to an alternative and then, you know, eventually leading to my arrest. And like I said, you know, me being arrested, I do what I did to get arrested a million times over, because if you ever touch my family, I'll kill you. But I was very much in a closed mind space then compared to where I am now, where I didn't want to hear anything from anyone because no one's ever given me anything worth listening to. And I think that derives all the way back to why I make music, because I've heard everyone else tell me what I am and tell me, oh, you're this or you're that, or belong in jail, or, you know, you're never gonna succeed, you know? And it kind of just made me realize that, fuck you. That's not what's gonna happen. I'm gonna do what I want, and you're gonna listen to it, and you're gonna hear my words, not what everyone else claims about me.